Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israeli defense officials voiced concern about a spike in intelligence this past month regarding planned large-scale terror attacks across the West Bank. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu asserts that while an understanding was reached with the United States about stabilizing the Kurdish-controlled areas of northern Syria, including the town of Manbij, no full agreement has yet been reached. U.S. President Donald Trump reveals that the latest success of the U.S.-led coalition against the Islamic State will soon allow the United States to pull its forces out of certain parts of the Middle East. Israeli defense officials have voiced concern about a spike in intelligence this past month regarding planned large-scale terror attacks across the West Bank. The intelligence pertains to organized attacks that are directed by Palestinian militant organizations, mainly the Islamist Hamas, which has been actively aspiring to set attacks in motion with orders from the Gaza Strip and with the assistance of funding and directives to its operatives in the West Bank. These refer to shooting attacks and possibly also kidnappings. The intelligence does not pertain to what the defense establishment terms as lone wolf attacks, which generally are not preceded by any prior intelligence and do not rely on the infrastructure of an organization that is behind the attack, as was the case in the two most recent lethal attacks in which 3 Israelis were killed. The organized attacks in question are expected to be committed by militant cells that are equipped with weapons against either Israeli civilians or soldiers. Operations of that kind require financing and planning that are generally overseen by Hamas's headquarters in Gaza. The assessment by Israel's security establishment is that despite the crisis in relations with the Palestinian Authority and the mounting incitement of the Palestinian public, the Palestinian leadership in the West Bank has not changed its policy and is opposed to transitioning to a violent conflict with Israel. Meanwhile, Israeli-Palestinian security coordination continues on the ground, and the Palestinian intelligence organizations continue to operate against terrorist groups in keeping with the Palestinian Authority's interests and with the goal of not losing control over the situation on the ground. Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, dozens of Palestinian supporters of the Islamist Hamas organization have rallied in the Gaza city to protest against Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, who earlier this week threatened to end reconciliation efforts with Hamas and hinted at further sanctions against the Palestinian enclave. President Abbas warned that unless Hamas would give up control of Gaza, it will risk taking full responsibility for the enclave and its 2 million residents without any help from his Western-backed Palestinian Authority. Abbas, speaking at the Palestinian leadership gathering in Ramallah on Monday, blamed Hamas for an assassination attempt of Palestinian Prime Minister Rami Hamdallah, which occurred last week, when the Prime Minister's convoy was targeted by a roadside bomb in the Hamas-run enclave. In response, the Islamist Hamas organization called Abbas's allegations and threats irresponsible that would burn bridges and reinforce Palestinian divisions. Now to Turkey, where Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu asserted that while an understanding was reached with the United States about stabilizing the Kurdish-controlled areas of northern Syria, including the town of Manbij, no full agreement has yet been reached. Turkey, which alongside Syrian rebels captured on Sunday the northern Syrian town of Afrin after a 2-month offensive against the Kurdish YPG militia, has repeatedly threatened to push its operations further east to eradicate Kurdish militants from its border region, including in the town of Manbij, where U.S. troops are also stationed. To avoid a confrontation with its NATO ally, Turkey seeks an agreement with the United States over the future of Manbij, which is located some 100 kilometers east of Afrin, demanding an immediate withdrawal of the YPG militia, which Ankara considers a terrorist organization. Speaking at a press conference, the Turkish top diplomat stressed that while no agreement has been reached with Washington on the fate of Manbij, Ankara would not be satisfied with a mere pullout of Kurdish forces from the border town, as the YPG possesses a severe security threat that must be dealt with.
Manbij'ten başlayarak Suriye'nin belli bir bölümünü istikrara kavuşturmak. Bu da nasıl olacak? Burada bir çerçeve var, yine anlayış var. Öncelikle buralardan YPG çekilecek. Manbij'ten örneğin çekilecek. Buraları kim yönetecek? Buraların güvenliğini kim sağlayacak? Bu konuda birlikte çalışacağız. Daha sonra arkadaşlarımız Washington'da bunun toplantısını yaptı. Bu çalışma grubunun yol haritasını biz eğer bir mutabakata bağlarsak o zaman anlaştık diyebiliriz. Şimdi bir anlayış var. Amerikalıların da teklifi var. Peki sadece Manbij yeterli mi? Hayır. Manbij'ten önce YPG çıkacak ve burayı istikrara kavuşturacağız. Manbij'li insanlar burayı yönetecekler. Buranın güvenliğini onlar yine sağlayacaklar. Biz onlara yardım edeceğiz. Fakat Manbij modelini diğer yerlerde de şu anda YPG'nin kontrol ettiği her yerde uygulayacağız.
Meanwhile, in Germany, German Chancellor Angela Merkel sharply criticized Turkey's military offensive in the northern Syrian town of Afrin and condemned ongoing attacks by Syrian forces in the Damascus suburb of eastern Ghouta. Speaking to lawmakers in the Bundestag lower house of parliament, Merkel stressed that the German government was condemning the airstrikes on eastern Ghouta in the strongest terms. She pointed to the forces of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, but also blamed Russia for just watching the events unfold, as she put it.
Gerade in diesen Tagen erleben wir grauenhaftes Tun durch Bombardements, zum Beispiel in Ostghouta. Wir verurteilen diese Bombardements, zum Beispiel von einer Schule, auf das Schärfste, das Regime von Assad, aber auch Russland, das dem zusieht.
Turning to the Turkish offensive in Afrin, Merkel declared Turkey's actions as unacceptable, asserting that Ankara's security interests do not justify its military operation.
Und lassen Sie mich in diesem Zusammenhang sagen, bei allen berechtigten Sicherheitsinteressen der Türkei ist es inakzeptabel, was in Afrin passiert, wo Tausende und Abertausende von Zivilisten verfolgt sind, zu Tode kommen oder flüchten müssen. Auch das verurteilen wir auf das Schärfste.
Now to Washington, where President Donald Trump and Saudi Arabia's powerful Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman held several meetings on both bilateral relations between the two allies as well as regional challenges, including Iran's destabilizing actions across the Middle East and the ongoing battle against the Islamic State. President Trump emphasized that opposed to his predecessor, who strained relations between Washington and Riyadh, the relations between the two countries have improved significantly.
We really have a great friendship, a great relationship. I would really have to say the relationship was, to put it mildly, very, very strained during the Obama administration. And the relationship now is probably as good as it's really ever been. And I think we'll probably only get better.
On the matter of the ongoing battle against Islamic State, President Trump noted that the U.S.-led coalition has managed to capture close to 100% of the territory the extreme Muslim group once held, a fact that will soon allow the United States to pull its forces out of certain parts of the Middle East.
As you know, ISIS is now, we've recaptured almost 100% of the territory, as you probably have heard, before anybody. But we've captured close to 100% of the territory held by ISIS. And we've moved very rapidly, very quickly, and that's really coming to an end in that part of the world. It's coming to an end, and we'll be able to get out of certain areas that we've wanted to get out of for a long period of time.
The visit by the Saudi Crown Prince is scheduled to last 2 more weeks, during which he is expected to hold meetings with members of the U.S. Congress and advance in talks with the Trump administration and the private sector on bolstering relations between the two countries. Thank you for watching us. Praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Jonathan Hassan. Have a Erev Tov, and we will see you again tomorrow at the same time.